Welcome to the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast, the ultimate blueprint for growth and all the things you need in order to get your life together. I'm Danielle Van, a cognitive behavioral therapist, life coach, meditation teacher, and author. I've spent my life studying and learning from the stories that make up our human experience. It's my passion and goal to help you shift your mindset and create a lifelong revolution to help you reach your greatest potential. In everything, there's a hidden opportunity. And the most successful people in the entire world know this truth. It's a hidden truth that many of us fail to actually latch onto. But when we do, it not only changes our perspective, it changes our life. Today, you and I are taking a deep dive into hidden opportunities and what I believe is the fundamental piece of what creates success mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and even financially. So let's break it all down. The Get Your Life Together Girl podcast starts right now. Let me ask you a question. How do you think successful people continue to be successful? How do they have this level of achievement and reaching their goals? Not simply because that's who they are, but because of what they do. Can you answer that? Have you ever thought about that? It's something I actually think about quite often, success that is, and how we get there and how we look from the inside to the outside and we create this forward movement in our lives. And it has always boiled down to one thing for me, and I want to share that with you. I want to talk about how I view success, and maybe something in the conversation opens your eyes and gives you a new perspective too. That's what I always hope for, but that's kind of the thought process for today. The first part that we really want to talk about is, why are successful people successful? Why do they reach goals where others don't? Sometimes people will say they're lucky, right? They're just lucky. Highly accomplished people are just, well, they just fall into the right situations. I tend to think the complete opposite. I don't think that luck has much to do with success. Can there be an air of luck? Sure, of course. Is it everything? Hell no. It's just not. It is far more calculated, far more thoughtful, far more intentional than just dumb luck. So let's talk about what makes successful people successful. And then that one thing that I feel is the undertone to everything, the foundation to success. And the reason why we're having this conversation is when we're trying to get our lives together, when we're trying to move through our lives, we really need to listen to our inner selves, that inner signal, and look for the things that are our driving factors. When we know that is when we can really take our lives in full empowerment. So, what makes successful people successful? The first is that they are very specific. They're intentional. They don't just say, hey, I want to lose weight or I want to climb the corporate ladder. They are so clear with what success looks like for them. I want to lose 5 pounds because it is going to allow me to achieve this thing. They know exactly what they want to achieve, and they allow that achievement, that knowing, to motivate them until they get there. They don't make empty promises. Instead, they get so focused, almost too focused sometimes, but they still lead with that thought process of open to everything, closed to nothing, but they don't leave room for doubt. Successful people are specific people. This is the thought process, the mindset that I try to teach, whether on social media or in the courses that I teach, or when I'm speaking to a group, or I'm in private sessions where we get so specific about what we're telling our brain and our emotional body, our thought processes, exactly what we need and want. Again, successful people are specific people. They also seize the moment to act on what they want. Given how busy our lives are, right? And how many things we're juggling every single day, it's not surprising that we often miss opportunities to act on our goals. And when we miss opportunities, we will often say, "Ugh, I failed. I didn't take the time to do this today." And we tend to think, well, I didn't do it today, so it must mean that I have failed completely. Instead of it's just a pin in the moment. I didn't have a chance to work out today, so my goal of losing 5 pounds was sort of on hold. We feel like we have to start completely over and start fresh. That's such BS. We don't have to, right? We have the ability to say, you know what? I had a moment today. I didn't get to achieve, and I'm going to have another opportunity tomorrow. Successful people seize the moment to act on their goals. They push themselves in moments where it doesn't really feel the best. I don't want to get out of bed right now. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that, but yet they still make themselves do it. To seize the moment, to decide when to take action, when you put yourself in the forefront, means that you are acting from a place of, I'm going to increase the opportunity for success. We have major studies showing that if we tell the brain, this is what we're going to do, and then we plan towards it, the brain will detect and seize the opportunity to do that thing when it arises. This increases our chance by roughly 300%. Right? Our chances of success are increased by 300% when we seize our moments and act on our goals. Successful people seize the moment. Successful people also know exactly how far they have left to go. This is a big one, right? I tend to have people write out their goals when they first come into therapy. What do you expect to get out of this? What do you want to feel like? What do you want to create? What do you want to let go of? Get so specific. Again, that top one for success. And then let's look at how we are doing. It requires this honesty and this regular checking in to see, where am I making progress? Where do I need to put my focus? If you do this by yourself, or you have an accountability partner or a therapist or whatever it is, you are going to have more success. And successful people know exactly where they are. They're checking in. How am I feeling? What is it that I'm doing? What is it that I need? And how do I need to put my mindset, my thought process, my emotional body in the space of my actions? Successful people know how far they have left to go. They're also more optimistic. I'm going to talk more about that in just a second, about that underlying piece where I said there's this one thing that makes people successful, right? But realistic optimism is huge, because when you're setting a goal and you have positive thoughts about achieving it, believing in your ability to succeed is enormously more helpful than creating resistance. Right? If I underestimate my abilities, but I allow myself to have time and planning and effort and persistence, I'm probably going to have a much easier space to show up in. If all I'm doing is calculating my odds of failure, if all I'm doing is thinking about how I can't, is that going to support my overall success goal? Of course not. And this doesn't matter what we're talking about, right? Like, we could be talking about mental health. I want to feel better, so I have to get specific about what that looks like. I have to really seize the moment to act on the goals, getting with a therapist, changing my behaviors, putting some new routines in place. I have to think about where I start and where I'm going and what I want my future to look like. And I have to realize that this has to be a real opportunity, a real thing for me that I am connected to and want to achieve, because if not, I'm going to fail. Successful people, no matter what it is, mental, emotional, physical, financial, or spiritual, have a real optimism about how they are showing up, about what they want to create. They also focus on getting better rather than just being good or okay. Believing you have the ability to reach a goal is one thing. It's so important. But knowing that you can, that what you have right now is not fixed, that there's growth in everything, allows you to get better. It takes you out of the small box thinking and puts you into a space of reaching that fullest potential. It's a space of empowerment. Successful people focus on better rather than good. They also have grit. I love that word. I love the idea of grit because it's this willingness, this closed fist, shaking to the world, watch me right now, willingness to commit, to persist in the face of difficulty. Studies have even shown that gritty people obtain more education. They do better. They have more because they're willing to put themselves in uncomfortable positions. They know that I can be my own worst enemy or I can be my biggest cheerleader. This goes to the hidden opportunities thought process that we're going to talk about in just a moment. But they make effort. They plan. They embrace. They know that only I am going to move the needle. Having grit is one of the most powerful things that one can do, and successful people have it. Does it come for free? No. The most successful people have failed the most, and they use willpower as their muscle. Willpower is a way of controlling the self, in a way of keeping ourselves in the regular, taking on the challenge, being honest rather than not, giving up the things that are not working and prioritizing what does. They use willpower as strength to take on more, not more of the BS, but more of what is supporting their goals. Successful people use willpower as their muscle. They also focus on what they want, not what they do not. When we focus on what we want, what happens? We create what we want. When we replace bad habits with good ones, we are focused on replacing the bad habit. We are focused on retraining an active brain and an active mind. When we show up in a way that we're focusing on what we want, we tell our mind, hey, this is what I want you to create. This is what I want you to do. And those people who live their lives in the way that we're focused on what we want, not what we don't, are far more successful. Their mindset is healthier. Their emotional body is healthier. Their finances are better. Their spiritual life has more fluidity to it. They're physically healthier. We focus on what we want, not what we don't, because when we focus on what we don't, we are derailed. Now, what is that one thing that I believe helps people be the most successful that they could possibly be? It's that they look for hidden opportunity. What does that mean? Let me give you an example. Say someone gives you advice and you take that advice and it doesn't work out. Somebody who is successful, that is paving their own path, does not adopt an attitude of blame. They don't shift responsibility to the person who gave them the advice. Instead, they reframe the situation by taking responsibility for their choices and decides What am I going to do now? That is the hidden opportunity part. In everything that happens to you or through you that, let's say, could be considered negative or a loss or a failure, contains a hidden opportunity for empowerment. It's the seeds that create solutions out of problems, right? The cure for an illness is often in the cold or the virus or the situation in the body. When somebody who's done a lot of therapy sits at a table with somebody who's unhealed, often they will tell the story of their hardest moment and they will end it with, "It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. It saved my life. It changed everything." If you've listened to this podcast and you go way back in the very first episodes, you hear an episode between my daughter Madison and I talking about when she lost her kidney at age 9. She's almost 18 years old now. And that became the light bulb moment for me that literally changed everything. Her darkest day became my saving grace. And it's a space that in it, there was a hidden opportunity. When you become grateful, when you become intentional about using your circumstances that caused the most upset or the hardest or pushed you out of your comfort zone or whatever it is, it forces you to take a good look at what you want. And when you take a great look at what you want, you have the ability to put the empowerment in place, to use it for your greatness. Oftentimes people think that successful people are lucky. Remember, I said that just a few minutes ago. But really what I believe it comes down to is they face their moments and they do not allow them to control them. Instead, they pick up on the hidden opportunities. They look at those moments where they say, "This was really hard, but I am not going to be controlled by the moment." They learn to say no. They learn to say that I have the ability to change everything that occurs to me. I'm having a bad day. That's fine. That's not a problem because tomorrow I have an opportunity to do something else. When you teach yourself to expect positive outcomes in everything you encounter in the processing of your world and the different opinions that arise, you take the opportunity to be successful. You take the opportunity to love yourself, to love the environment, to understand that without light there is no dark and vice versa. And instead of allowing these little minor moments in your life to control you, you take the hidden opportunity path. That is what growth is all about. I had this thing happen to me, and instead of it breaking me, I'm choosing to do something with it. How many times have you been watching some Dateline or something like that, where you see a mother talking about the loss of her child, and all of a sudden she has started a foundation, she's changed the law, she's done something in her life that has really taken the hardship and created a successful movement from it. That's the hidden opportunity that is available to every one of us. We do not have to be limited by our experiences. The most successful people have a quiet and loud love affair with themselves and their lives. When we focus and we become very clear about what we want and what we expect from ourselves, we get into that space of what creates success. Remember, I told you what those were. Successful people are specific people. They seize the moment to act on their goals. They know exactly how far they have left to go. They're realistic in their optimism. They have grit. They build with willpower. They focus on what they can do instead of what they can't. And that comes down to looking for the hidden opportunities. there are times when you are going to face things that seem like the world is going to end. The other opportunity in that moment is knowing, one, the world's not going to end, and two, what am I going to do about it? If you've listened to this podcast, if you've listened to me on social media, whether on Insight Time or Instagram or Facebook or any of the places, you've heard me tell you the 4 questions that I often ask. These are 4 questions that I ask myself every single day without fail. Because why? I'm trying to get specific. What do I want? What do I need right now, right in this moment? What is the hidden opportunity in this particular second, in this day? How do I want to feel? Your answer should never be shitty, right? I want to feel awful. No, I want to feel brilliant. I want to feel beautiful. I want to feel my way into happiness and into peace and joy. And the last one, how am I going to get there? What do I want? What do I need? How do I want to feel? How am I going to get there? I don't know how you can be any more specific. And when things get off track, you use your grit and your willpower and your specific guidelines that you've created for yourself while being open to look for the shift. The most successful people, again, whether that's emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, or financially, are those who are willing to stop managing every single thing, be open, and look for what's happening in the moment. And more specifically, how can they make that thing work for them? Maybe you're saying, that's great, Danielle. Sounds wonderful. That's great for those people who are lucky enough. There's that word again. To be able to shift their mindset, to reframe a situation, because I have no idea how to do that. And I'm going to tell you how, right? That's the whole point of this podcast. I'm going to give you the very simple way to get there, to change the way you look at things. Dr. Wayne Dyer had that most famous quote that I just absolutely love. And it's when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It is reframing. How do we do it? How do we look for the hidden opportunities so that we have success in anything that we're doing? The first thing that we do is look at what we believe in the moment. Let me use one that often comes up in therapy, and it is that I worry too much, or I think too much, or I feel too much. Okay, so that's the belief. The belief is that you are too much. You have to identify what that is. Is there a hidden opportunity in that thought process? I worry too much? Yes. What's below it? What's below the thought process of thinking too much? How can I reframe that thought process? The hidden opportunity is to get out of the negative and into something that works for us, right? So this is the belief, I worry too much. What's the supporting belief? What's the evidence? It goes back to that question I said just a few minutes ago. What do I want? What do I need? How am I going to get there? When we're reframing, we're looking at these thought processes that are coming up, and what we're trying to do is get to an alternative within the problem that we're having, right? I think too much. I worry too much. Why? Why do I feel that way? And what supports that? Well, last night I was sitting on the couch and I began to worry about something that hasn't happened yet. And I felt all tight in my chest and things just, it was awful. Well, there is that belief process that supports, because it is the evidence. When I worry, this happens, and therefore it must be my truth. And then you ask yourself, is this my truth? Is this even true at all? Is how I feel actual? Is it fact? Because if it's not, then I have the hidden opportunity right now, right here, to change it, to be successful in my mindset, to be successful in my emotional body. If I do not actually believe this to be truth, because I don't have actual evidence for it, then I have the opportunity to change how I feel. But if my mindset says, yes, this is true, and I have evidence because my mom says this, my dad did this, my best friend said that, or 20 years ago, this happened, we name it. Name the emotion, name the feeling, name whatever's happening, and decide, is this impacting me? If it's impacting me, it's impacting my attitude and my choices and my lack of success. It's creating this thought process that's working against me. And I have a choice to either stop it, stop the loop, stop the cycle, or continue it. The stop is the hidden opportunity for success. If I can't do that and I keep it going, then I have to know what comes next from it. And generally, it's a trigger. The brain is always going to look for a pattern in which it's most familiar. So it's going to find those times that you failed at something, right? Where it's going to support that mess that you've told yourself. And then you fall into the trap, right? Like, this is terrible. Everything's terrible. But the hidden opportunity for success is asking the question, what do I want? How can I reframe this into something more empowering? How can I take what I'm feeling right now and change the thought process? Why isn't this true? Where's the hidden opportunity? If I can dispel what's happening in my thought process, does that mean I can also change the evidence in which I am thinking? Can I change my feelings? Because I already know what I'm feeling isn't true. Can I look for the hidden opportunity that I don't always have to have a negative thought? Can I remember that grit means that I'm going to show up and do my best even if I fail, because the failure has opportunity too? Can I look for something better? Can I say, what happened? How can I challenge this? What's my evidence? What's the evidence against the thought? Can I find what's going to work for me? The most successful people know that there's always another choice. They're using grit. They're reframing the moment. They're practicing all of the things that allows them to say, there's something else for me. Remember how I just said that the ideas, the thoughts, the feelings are not fixed? They take the limiting belief of I'm not good enough, and they reframe it to I'm good enough for the moment, to the next piece of I'm setting a goal so that I can accomplish this thing. And then they go through that list, right? They get specific. They train themselves into knowing that their mindset has to be a growth mindset. They use emotional intelligence. They have willpower and mental toughness. They really qualify their successes. They do not limit themselves because they're optimistic with realism. They leverage what's working and they cut out what doesn't. Successful people can be described as self-confident, aspirational. They have drive and patience and discipline. They communicate. They have integrity. There's a willingness to learn and take responsibility. They're self-reliant. They're optimistic. They're passionate. They're creative. They're resilient. There isn't a clear-cut success path. You and I are going to get to success in very different ways. But one thing that I know for certain from all of the successful people I've studied, to the success I've experienced in my life, to the success I've watched clients and others create, is this: shit's gonna happen. Hard things are going to find you. It isn't that we try to remove the hard things. It's that we try to use them to our benefit. What do I want? What do I need? How do I want to feel? How am I going to get there? If you can take these qualities, these thought processes, these motions and movements of successful people. You're going to cultivate a life of success. Yes, you will have failures. Every one of us does. But the people who see their failures as opportunities are the people that most people are looking at and saying, I want my life to look like that. Engage in change. Isn't that what hidden opportunity is all about? When you fail, pivot. When you feel, decide if it's fact. When you plan, do it so openly, open to everything, closed to nothing. Be willing to bet on yourself. The most successful people in the world know that everything has the ability to be great. Just like you do. You have the ability to be great. Success is not an accident. It's not luck. It's work. It's learning. It's studying. Sometimes it's sacrifice. But it does come down to one thing. Love of self. Betting on the self. Being willing to be seen, to be heard, to do the damn thing anyway. Compassion. It's knowing that there is a hidden opportunity in every single thing. So even in your hardest moments, find the lesson, find the moment for change, and decide, what do I want now? Thank you so much for listening to the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast. If you've enjoyed these tips for bettering your life and are seeking daily inspiration and additional tools and tips, follow me on social media if you're not already at Get Your Life Together Girl on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Clapper, YouTube, Threads, Pinterest, and also on Insight Timer. You can also visit the show notes, my blog, and my merch store on my website, getyourlifetogethergirl.com. We would love for you to share this episode with family members or friends as it helps spread the message to those who may need it. And also, if you haven't already, please feel free to reach out to us at getyourlifetogethergirlnow@gmail.com and rate this episode on whatever platform you listen to, as it helps bring more to our podcast. Thank you again for being a valuable part of this community. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.